Those of you who have been watching this series of drafted writing letters home from Vietnam, welcome back, and I appreciate you watching again. We're getting close to the end now. Just a little background. My Army career, I wrote a ton of letters back home. My folks, my friends, and my folks, Bobby and Bill Flint, were kind enough to gather up all those letters, and they gave them to me years later. And one time I was thinking about writing a book, including those letters, find out that would not work, and figured out that I could do a YouTube series, essentially at no cost. You do the same thing, get these letters out in my comments on what I experienced over there. I was a draftee, 2 years in Vietnam, or in the Army, 1 year in Vietnam, and appreciate my folks getting these letters together. My memory has faded, frankly, and I don't remember a lot of the stuff that I write about in my letters. And but I sure appreciate my folks doing what they did. Let's get right to it. Getting close to the end of my tour now, and you'll be able to tell that by what I say here. This is March 21st, 1967. This is to my Uncle Bob and Aunt Lucille in Delaware. Your letter arrived here in plenty of time before I leave. I'm not due to leave before the 14th of April, although there's a chance for me to leave before then. I was told today that I couldn't leave until my replacement arrived, so I'm hoping for him to come along soon. Mom and Dad are coming out to California, and I will meet them there, and we will drive home. It will be nice to see them again, and by driving home, I can pick up an extra 10 days leave that I can use later. I should arrive at Fort Dix around the 15th of the month of May. I'm really tired of Vietnam and Cam Ranh Bay, and I'm sure you know that I'm counting the days until I can leave. I think everybody was in the same boat. We would write short-timers calendars. I'd start a new one every day, and then I'd have all the calendars going back for a couple of months, checking off the days, just to have something to do. I got my whole baggage shipped today after having to cut almost 100 pounds from it. I found out that being an SP4, Specialist 4, with under 4 years, could only send 200 pounds of baggage, and I had 296 pounds. I will mail the rest soon. It only takes 15 to 30 days for that stuff to get home from here, and that's fast. It goes by air from here in REA from California. I was in Tokyo at the end of February and the 1st of March, and I had a real good time. I went on a bus tour to Mount Fuji and saw a lot of Tokyo on my own. I mastered riding the trains and found I could go anywhere in Tokyo if I had an address to go to. I had 3 cloudy days and 3 clear ones. The most enjoyable single thing I did was going to the Cinerama Theater in Tokyo and seeing Grand Prix. I think that starred James Garner, if I'm not mistaken. I vaguely remember the movie. I know it was a great movie. It is a truly beautiful movie, and anyone can enjoy. I'm very definitely planning to come to the Far East again someday and visit Tokyo again, and this time maybe stay a little longer. When I get settled at Fort Dix, I will call down to Greenville and let you know when I'll be free. Since I'm a chaplain's assistant, I will probably be working on Sundays, but I should have days off during the week, and I will still have some leave coming before I finish my active duty in the Army. I will enjoy very much seeing you and your place, as it has been a long time since I've been to New England. I could have stayed 2 months longer here and gotten out of the Army 3 months early, but since I was assigned to the New England area, I decided to go on up there and finish my 2 years. I'm going to buy a car while I'm home on leave, so I will have a way around while there. It won't be much, maybe a VW or something small like that. I am still planning to attend college when I get out of the Army, and I will use the new GI Bill to finance it. Well, I guess I'll be seeing you in about 2 months, so I will say goodbye for now. Yours, Donnie. March 24th, 1967 again. Dear Mom and Dad, I will be able to meet you. This is my plans for meeting up with my folks in California. I thought, thinking back on that, that was quite a logistical nightmare. Figuring out exactly when I would arrive back in the States, how I would get to California. My folks wanted to come out and meet me and take me home. I guess they just wanted a road trip. But figuring out those dates and everything was up in the air, but it all came together. And I don't remember much about it. I think I was dazed and confused when I got home. Changing from that harsh environment of Vietnam, that different world, and then coming back to the real world was stunning to me. Here you go again. I'll start over. I will be able to meet you at the Sea and Land Motel in Santa Cruz, California, on April 15th at 12 noon. That will give me enough leeway in case I get stuck somewhere, as I should be coming into the U.S. on April 12th. I will also have my visiting with my friend in Monterey nearly over, and we can leave straight away. Please let me know what things and places you would like to see in California so I can be planning a little myself. Of course, we can talk more about that when I see you in Santa Cruz. I suppose you will be in your Buick. I think they had a real nice Buick, 2-door hardtop. I can't remember the year, 65 maybe, that my mother had bought. It was my mother's car. A large box should be arriving at the house soon, weighing about 170 pounds. It is my whole baggage, and it contains mainly one large receiver, one Nikonis camera, one camera bag full of camera equipment, and many other small boxes. Please open it up and remove the contents to some convenient spot so I can go through it when I get home and throw out some of the things I don't need. Also, I will be sending by boat mail some other stuff that I couldn't send by whole baggage, but it should arrive while I'm there or later. I hope my tape recorder arrives okay and before you leave on your trip. About how long do you think it will be before we arrive back in Corpus, where I will take any long needed rest and get used to living like a human being again? Only 19 days to go as of today, and it is nice to know when I'm going home for sure. If anything develops or changes, I will write you about it. I received a real nice letter from Uncle Bob inviting me up to Greenville when I get settled at Dix. I wrote him back and told him I would love to come and that I would call him when I am settled. That is one of the reasons I wanted to have a car when I go up there so I can visit around. Well, I had better close for now. Maybe you will have time to write me 1 or 2 more letters. Remember, it takes 5 days for your letters to reach me, and I'll be leaving my company early on the 11th. Bye, Donnie. That's interesting. You can tell I'm anxious to go. Dear Mom and Dad, this is 30th of March, 67. I'm sure you have received my letter concerning the date that I plan to meet you in Santa Cruz. If not, it was the 15th of April. I heard recently that it only takes 3 hours to process through Fort Lewis, so I should get down to Santa Cruz sometime that day. Russell Kane said he could put me up at his place in Monterey, so I'll probably stay there until I meet you at the motel. If you want to be at the motel on the 14th of April, I can drop by and see if you are in yet. And if you are not, then I will wait until the next day. Do I have a new driver's license at home? Mine expired last year. on the 13th of April, so it won't do any good. If you do have it, please bring it. I got a letter dated the 24th yesterday saying you didn't know when I was to meet you, but I'm sure you know now. Now I'm just marking time. I don't feel like working at anything. I just sit around doing mostly nothing. We still drive around a lot, me and the chaplain. But I have seen everything so much, and it doesn't change. I don't enjoy it anymore. I'm just looking forward to getting back to the U.S. I had a chance to go to Taipei, Taiwan, Formosa, for another R&R, but I decided I couldn't afford it. Would like to see it, though. I won't have any Sabine clothes when I get to the West Coast, so please bring a few things with you for me. I'm planning on buying some things when I arrive. Don't need shoes. Gotta go. Love, Donnie. Okay, now, this letter, I'll get it up as close as I can, was sent to my folks. It is kind of interesting, and I'll read it because it's quite telling. The address on this says Headquarters, 35th Engineer Group, Construction, Command, APO 96312, San Francisco, California. Dated March 8th, 1967. To my dad and mom, Mr. and Mrs. William E. Flint, 314 Cole Street, Corpus Christi, Texas. Dear Mr. and Mrs. Flint, very soon, Donald D. Flint will once again be in your midst, dehydrated, demoralized, and dejected, to take his place once again as a human being with freedom and justice for all, and engaged in somewhat delayed and interrupted pursuit of happiness. In making your joyous preparations to welcome him back into organized society, you must make allowances for the crude environment to which he has been subjected for the last year. He will probably be a little jumpy and is definitely suffering from a severe case of the dreaded Army-itis, the disease which makes one nervous in the service. Show no alarm if he prefers to stir his coffee with a large soup spoon. Do not be bewildered when he calls the food chow, the bed a sack, the movies a flick, the local store a PX, the bathroom a latrine, and the local pool room a day room. Do not be amazed when he salutes his superiors. In a relatively short time, he may be taught the ways of normal living and civilization again. Never make flattering remarks about the Air Force, Navy, and Marines. Never ask him why the boy down the street had more rank than he did. Above all, never mention the Army in his presence. He may suffer a relapse. Please keep in mind that under that rugged, worn-out exterior, there beats a heart of pure gold, somewhat tarnished by the past 3 years. Treasure this, for it will probably be the only thing of value he has left. Treat him with loving care, kindness, and frequent words of encouragement. If you tolerate him, you will be able to rehabilitate that which is now the hollow shell of a man you once knew. He will be home in about 30 days. Start preparations now for his well-deserved rejuvenation. Remember, this man still has a chance. Sincere yours, Uncle Sam. P.S. If he should ever mention re-enlisting, beat him severely about the head and shoulders. If this does not dismiss all thoughts at once of again entering the Army, take him immediately to a good psychiatrist. That's great. And boy, that's so true. It's so true, it's shocking. That is so funny. Continuing with the letters. Now, I have arrived in Fort Lewis, Washington, apparently flew to San Francisco, rented a car, and one way, drove down to Monterey, visited my friend Russell Kane, and I think I might have stayed at his place for a day or two. I can't remember anything about it. I was in such shock being back to the States. And so there's a gap here in letters because I didn't have anybody to write to, and I was just in a holding pattern, no reason to write. So I'm fixing to meet my parents in in Monterey, Santa Cruz actually, and they're going to drive me back to Texas. And that trip, I have one picture, but I don't remember much about that trip. I don't remember if we went to Colorado first and then down to Texas. We might have done that. I wish I could remember better. But I was, like I say, in a fog and just happy to be home. I had some time between arriving back in the States and then arriving back up at Fort Dix. So had planned on buying a car in Corpus and driving up to Fort Dix, but I decided to fly instead, buy a car up there. Only had about $500 for a car. But in those days, you could buy a car for $500, a used car. So this is after the gap, May 19th, 1967. Dear Mom and Dad, well, I'm getting set up here at Fort Dix. I was assigned to the 5th Brigade Chapel, and the other assistant left on leave this morning. I don't really know what I'm doing yet, but I'm sure I will catch on soon. I won't be staying where I am now because they need an assistant at the 2nd Brigade Chapel. A request was sent in this morning for me to be sent to the 2nd Brigade. I will probably move there in 2 weeks or so. That base, Fort Dix, is huge. The other day I looked on Google Maps, not Google Maps, but Google Earth, to look at that base, and it is huge. It's next to an Air Force base, the same Air Force base that I think they keep the Air Force One and all those big planes. Andrews, I think it's called. Anyway, it's a big base, and I looked around and I said, man, how did I get around? That's why I needed a car. Back to the letter. This is a really pretty post with trees and many modern living quarters and offices. It is sort of the showplace of the Army training bases. The men here really have nothing to complain about. It is a lot different here than Fort Ord in that it is a lot more modern and better in many respects. I have found that I'm going to need a car here, so I am now in the process of looking for a car to buy, probably around the first part of May. This post is so big that I can't walk anywhere easily without using up too much time. It is a long ways from the barracks to the chapel, and I usually have to walk or scrounge a ride. Also, a car is needed to be able to do anything off post. New York is only 1.5 hours from here. Philadelphia is 45 minutes. Trenton, 15 minutes. And the shore is only 20 minutes from here. But a car is needed to go everywhere, but New York City, where bus travel is necessary. So I'm going to look for a car, and I will let you know what I get. Being permanent party and SP4 here is pretty good. In Vietnam, E4s were treated like dirt, but here we're treated with respect. The grades below us look up to us, and we even have some privileges that the others don't. I can go to the NCO club, non-commissioned officers, and I'm in line for a room in the barracks. More news later. My address is, and I put my address is. And I can't believe it's actually raining right now. How did that happen? May 20th, 67. Dear Mom and Dad, today was Armed Forces Day and I was off. So I walked around to all the exhibits that were put up for the open house that was held here at Fort Dix. Around noon, I took off by bus to have a look at New Jersey off post. Went to Asbury Park on the shore, and the weather was beautiful, high 70s. There's a boardwalk there, and lots of people were there. These people up here sure do talk funny. I don't like it here as much as I do in California. I cleaned out my billfold tonight and found that that FINA credit card, so I'm sending it home. I got my first letter today. As you can see from the envelope enclosed, it really got around. Tomorrow will be my first Sunday here, and time is going fast already. So I'm looking forward to hearing from you soon. Love, Donnie. So that was my first couple of days at Fort Dix, and I don't want to make this any longer, so I'm going to stop right there. So this is going to be Chapter 5, Episode 1, the Fort Dix and the East Coast part of the adventure. So pretty soon I'm going to get a car, and things will be quite different for me. Get to do some traveling, and looking forward to it. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye now.